Hi, I'm Alex Pault with Open Systems Media and Embedded Computing Design, and I'm here with Vanja Samuelsson at the Things Conference in Amsterdam, and we're going to talk about the Internet of Things and LoRaWAN and such, right?
Yes, and add into that the battery life, very important point.
Well, you know, the funny thing is we were just talking to someone about batteries, and I'm a power guy if people in the industry know anything about me.
Really well.
Yeah. So nothing happens unless you move the electrons around. I mean, all of this stuff would come to a dead halt without power.
Obviously, and it's important to understand that. It's actually important to understand how to work with that. And many people and the new generations of the developers now coming up in the IoT space, they need to understand that you need to have tools to see this, to visualize this, to understand your application, to understand your battery, so you understand how this actually works. And this is a huge issue, but also task for us all as a community to do.
Well, you know, and Qoitech, which is an interesting name, by the way, is addressing these things. Now, first off, where did the name come from? And second off, you're founder as well, so where did the company come from?
So the name actually comes from, as well as the product name OT. It's a very geeky engineering thing about it, because OT actually stands, it's a Latin for otium, which is idle mode. And this is what we really want to do. We want to put everything in idle mode, right? If you're not serving any purposes, please go and sleep, right? And when it comes to Qoitech, well, actually, Koi, it's a name of a polar bear. It's a bear that we're actually proud to wear and proud to present, and it's very much connected to kind of sustainability thinking within this business and the mindset of, okay, if we are going to be creating stuff and they are going to do great things, let's make them live longer and make them useful in that sense.
Well, now, thinking about that, managing power, because I've always been a big proponent of don't think about the battery. I mean, it's important to have the battery, obviously, but think about how you're using that battery. It's not how big the battery is, it's how long a lifetime you can get out of it, how much efficiency you can get out of your circuit. If you match your antenna to your board properly, I mean, it could be little engineering things that could turn into huge problems.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what we are aiming at. We recently launched a toolbox called the OT Battery Toolbox that actually addresses that point, where we are looking into how do you profile battery for your specific application, and how do you then replay it onto your application. Because if you just go by putting your device into a power box and then you are looking at some data sheet numbers, you will never ever get to the real issue and the real essence of what the battery can deliver. But if you profile the battery with the specifics of how your application is behaving, what the currents are, what the timings are, how it looks like, you will then know exactly how much capacity you can get out of that battery. And that's the real stuff. That's actually what you can sell, and that's what you should be selling, and not the data sheet capacity calculations.
Now, Vanja, when I think about this, I'm always thinking in any solution there's a hardware component and a software component. How much of this is software component, and it's probably not very much of a hardware component, but there has to be one?
Well, actually, I would say it's very integrated, right? It's everything today. It's about hardware and software, and I get a little bit upset sometimes when people are only trying to divide it. I think we are past that point where, when it comes to the development process, we are all involved. There are designers, there are suppliers of components, suppliers of batteries, there are software developers, hardware developers. All of them need to have the same view of what is the KPI, what is the battery profile, what is the actual current profile that we are aiming for our device, and how can I, as a part of the product development, be accounted for and make sure that what I'm doing is visualized and kind of goes with that KPI. So this is one of the parts of our tool where you can actually see, if you write a code of line, you can then see, hey, well, this code of line actually messed this up, so maybe I should be fixing this. So you don't have to be, as we traditionally do, leave it to the hardware engineer to fix it, even though it might be a software problem, right? So yeah, I think it's more about democratization about this issue and making sure that everybody is actually working on it.
Well, I don't want you to misunderstand me, Vanja. I didn't mean so much as there were two camps. It's more of a case of how much tail and how much teeth. And, how much of the component is software? What do I have to put into my system to enable the capabilities?
Well, we're talking about from the OT perspective, from our product, or yes. So actually, what we have created is we have both components. Obviously, we cannot live with the hardware because hardware is an interface, right? So what you do, you hook up your IoT device to our hardware, and that's pretty much it, because we really want to make sure that we move the user experience to the desktop where most of the other things are, so you can kind of freely work with that. We don't want to be scaring the software engineers who have a big stake in this by putting them in front of a big instrument and knocking them off with all the things that they don't understand, right? But if you move this to a desktop view and where you can visualize something that more reliable, like a actual power flow, it's much easier to understand. So I would say hardware is very important because it gives you the, let's say, the hardcore technical spec, but the software is equally important, or in some way even more important, because that's where you do the actual analysis. That's where you actually get these insights. And if you didn't have the one or the other, you couldn't work with it.
Like electricity and electronics.
Same, there we go.
So, first of all, where can they find you? What's the URL?
So it's the www.qoitech.com. That's easy. Or actually, you can find us even in our distributors, which is you just look for the word Qoitech at Okado or RS Components, DigiKey. So yeah, you can find us very easily.
Excellent, Vanja. So what's next for Qoitech? I mean, you're not just going to sit on your laurels and say, okay, we're done. What's next?
So we are really striving to do the most efficient, the most easy to use developer tool when it comes to the energy optimization. So what we really want to do is make sure that we have an offering where a developer can come and pick and choose, have a base of our tool, and then pick and choose of those parts of the toolbox where they really need and what they need in the project. And we want to place it on every developer table. So we are definitely expanding our portfolio to make sure to have everything that any developer would need for the energy optimization. And there's a lot to do there, definitely.
There always is under the sun, isn't there?
Absolutely.
So, Sonia, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today, especially during a busy event like this.
Thank you.
And you were doing presentations. Do you have any left today?
We have actually a workshops and we have a workshop tomorrow. So we're very happy that people are very engaging and they really want to hear more about it and to understand how to pick up the right battery, how to work the battery life. So I'm impressed. And again, for every year that we come here, it seems that the awareness is growing, the interest is growing, the community is growing. So we're really pleased to be here.
I agree. You take care. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you very much. Thanks.